You're feeding your baby. Doesn't matter if it's breast or bottle. What matters is what happens next. Your baby locks eyes with you. Not a glance, not a quick look. A full, unbroken stare that lasts the entire feeding. They don't blink much. They don't look away. They just watch your face with an intensity that feels almost unsettling. Some parents find it sweet. Some find it strange. Some wonder if they should look away, check their phone, do something to break the tension. And almost no one knows what's actually happening during those long, silent minutes of eye contact. Most parents assume it's simple. The baby is just comfortable. They're content while eating, so they look around, and your face happens to be there. It's proximity. It's coincidence. It's nothing deeper than a baby doing baby things. This explanation is reassuring. It's also completely wrong. Here's what neuroscience actually says. That stare during feeding is not passive observation. It is one of the most critical developmental events happening in your baby's first year of life, and the mechanism behind it involves brain chemistry, evolutionary biology, and a form of neural communication that most adults have completely lost access to. Let's start with the obvious question. Why feeding? Why is the stare so consistent during this specific activity and not others? Researchers at the University of Cambridge studied parent-infant interactions across multiple contexts: feeding, playing, diaper changes, and free interaction. What they found was striking. The longest sustained mutual gaze, the deepest eye contact, happened almost exclusively during feeding. Not because feeding is special, because feeding creates the neurochemical conditions for bonding. When a baby feeds, their body releases oxytocin. This is not new information. Oxytocin has been called the bonding hormone for decades. But here's what most people miss. Oxytocin doesn't just make a baby feel calm. It fundamentally alters how their brain processes social information. Specifically, it amplifies the reward signal the baby gets from looking at faces. A study published in the journal Psychoneuroendocrinology found that oxytocin administration in adults increases attention to the eye region of faces and enhances the brain's response to emotional expressions. In infants, whose oxytocin levels spike naturally during feeding, this effect is even more pronounced. Your baby isn't just looking at you. Their brain is chemically primed to find your face the most rewarding stimulus in their entire environment. And the longer they look, the more oxytocin gets released. It's a feedback loop. Looking at you feels good. Feeling good makes them look more. The stare sustains itself. But oxytocin is only half of the equation. Because something extraordinary happens on your side too. When your baby stares at you during feeding, when you make eye contact and hold it, your brain also releases oxytocin. Research teams at Azabu University in Japan measured this effect in real time. They found that mutual gaze between parent and infant produces synchronized oxytocin spikes in both individuals. You look at your baby looks at you. Both brains flood with the same bonding hormone simultaneously. This is not metaphorical connection. This is literal biochemical synchronization. Two nervous systems locking into the same emotional state through nothing but eye contact. Now here's where it gets even stranger. Because the stare during feeding isn't just about bonding, it's about learning. Researchers at the University of California studied what babies are actually doing with their eyes during prolonged face gazing. Using high-precision eye tracking technology, they mapped exactly where infants look and for how long. The results were unexpected. Babies don't look at the whole face evenly. They focus overwhelmingly on the eyes and mouth, and the pattern is not random. During feeding, infants spend approximately 70% of their gaze time on the caregiver's eyes. The remaining 30% is split between the mouth and brief glances at other features. This is not idle looking. This is data collection. Your baby is studying your eyes with the same intensity a scientist uses to examine a specimen under a microscope. And what are they learning? Emotional information. By 6 months, babies can distinguish between different emotional expressions: happy, sad, angry, fearful. But that ability doesn't appear magically. It is learned through thousands of hours of face time, most of which happens during feeding. Every time your baby stares at you while eating, they are building an internal database of what human emotions look like, what a smile means, what tension in the eyes signals, what a soft expression versus a hard expression communicates. Developmental psychologists call this social referencing, and it begins long before a baby can walk or talk. It begins in those quiet, repetitive moments where nothing seems to be happening except a baby eating and staring. There's a deeper layer to this that almost no one outside of academic research talks about, and it involves mirror neurons. These are brain cells that fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing that action. They were discovered in the 1990s by Italian researchers studying macaque monkeys. But the real breakthrough came when scientists realized humans have them too. And in infants, the mirror neuron system is hyperactive. When your baby watches your face during feeding, their mirror neurons are firing in response to your expressions. If you smile, the neurons associated with smiling activate in your baby's brain. If you look worried, the neurons associated with worry activate. Your baby's brain is literally rehearsing your emotional states in real time. They are learning how to feel by watching you feel. And here's the part that changes everything. This process is not one-directional. You are not just teaching, you are also responding. Research from the Max Planck Institute found that parents unconsciously modify their facial expressions when being watched by their infant. They exaggerate emotions. They slow down their movements. They hold expressions longer than they would with another adult. This is called infant-directed communication, and it happens automatically. You don't decide to do it. Your brain does it for you the moment your baby locks eyes. You become a clearer signal, a louder broadcast, and your baby, whose developing brain is tuned to exactly this frequency, absorbs every bit of it. So what happens if the stare doesn't happen? What if a baby consistently avoids eye contact during feeding or looks away repeatedly? This is where the science becomes a warning. Reduced eye contact in infancy, especially during high oxytocin moments like feeding, is one of the earliest observable markers associated with atypical social development. It doesn't mean something is definitively wrong. Babies develop on different timelines. Some are more visually distractible. Some are slower to establish consistent gaze patterns. But pediatric researchers are clear. If a baby at 4 months or older consistently avoids looking at the caregiver's face during feeding, if they seem more interested in objects or patterns than in the person holding them, that is worth mentioning to a developmental specialist. Not as a diagnosis, as a checkpoint. Early identification of social communication differences leads to better outcomes. The brain's plasticity in the first 2 years is never that high again, but for most babies, the stare is there, unwavering, unblinking, almost unnerving in its consistency, and every second of it matters, because what you're watching is not just a baby being fed, you're watching a brain build the foundational architecture of human connection, the ability to read emotions, to bond, to trust, to feel safe with another person. These are not skills that appear fully formed. They are built slowly, repetition by repetition, stare by stare, in the 10,000 small moments where a baby looks into a caregiver's eyes and learns what it means to be seen. The next time your baby stares at you during feeding, remember what's actually happening. Their oxytocin is rising. Yours is too. Their mirror neurons are firing in sync with your expressions. They are building a mental map of your face, learning to read emotion, rehearsing the feeling of connection, and somewhere deep in their developing brain, in circuits that will shape every relationship they have for the rest of their life, they are learning the most important lesson a human being can learn, that they are not alone, that someone is there, that the world contains at least one face that looks back. You are not just feeding your baby, you are teaching them how to love. And the evidence is right there, in the stare, in the eyes that won't look away, in the silence that somehow says everything. If this changed how you see those feeding moments, subscribe and drop a comment below. Does your baby do this? Do they stare the whole time? Because I want to know. And if you want to understand why babies cry harder the moment they see you after you've been gone, that's the next video. And the neuroscience will reframe everything you thought you knew about separation.